Hey everybody, Ryan here from the Northern Villa. Today's show is sponsored by the fine folks at podcorn.com. I got an email for this service and I figured, what the hell, let's give it a shot, see what happens, can't hurt, all that stuff you tell yourself. Sponsors are great, we love them. They help offset the cost of our burgeoning alcoholism, and then they help us recoup costs for the necessary evils we have to do for this show, like subscribe to Disney+. Podcorn is a marketplace connecting podcasters to amazing podcast sponsorship opportunities. With Podcorn, there is no middleman. Podcasters of all sizes can browse and choose opportunities right on the platform, set their own rates, and collaborate with brands directly. Signing up is super simple. It only took a few minutes. I know some of our listeners have podcasts of their own, and I urge you, I beg of you, please visit podcorn.com or click the link in the show notes to sign up and start browsing your sponsorship opportunities today. Hey everyone, welcome to the 2019 TIG Show Awards, the TIGgies. We have some new categories this year, so if you've listened to the past TIG Show Awards, this one's a little bit different. We jumped in because of some audio issues, Scott not hitting record. We jump in a few minutes into the podcast, but it's easy to catch up and it's not a problem at all. So please enjoy the 2019 TIG Show Awards.
Welcome to another episode of The Illustrious Gentleman, the place where comic book artists and top blokes Scott Godlewski and Ryan Cody talk about life, work, comics, and booze. Follow the show on Twitter at TIG_show and online at www.tigshow.com, TIGSHOW.com. Don't forget to let us know what you're drinking while you're listening to the show. Go on yourself, big man.
Drink it down in one breath.
Drink.
Okay, so we had some audio problems. We had managerial issues.
That's right.
Personnel problems. It's episode 152, The Illustrious Gentleman. We're doing our 2019 TIG Show Awards. Scott is drinking a Abe Sapien beer from Gigantic Brewing. That is 6.6. I don't know why my voice cracked. 6.66%. 6.66%.
That's right.
All right, we're essentially caught
this
up.
being an award show,
Right.
I'm wishing I had prepared a Ricky Gervais level monologue for everybody. Maybe we'll put it in post.
Yeah.
It'll just be me roasting Mitch Gerrits for 7 minutes.
Oh yeah, good. He deserves it. All right, so we're kind of caught up now. I'm gonna reiterate what I'm drinking. For those of you listening on the podcast only feed, it is Flying Fish Brewing Company from Summerdale, New Jersey, Exit 3 Blueberry Braggot Honey Ale brewed with blueberries. Apparently a Braggot, I copied this down. Braggot.
You wrote it down?
Yeah, Braggot was historically made by blending spices and herbs with mead and beer. So half mead, half beer. I'm not quite sure. Many taverns would blend this right at the bar, though brewers would also blend them as well. The ultimate goal is a beverage with perceivable honey and beer qualities. So,
what?
The reason I got it was the 15%. I don't know if I've ever had a 15% beer before that I can remember.
Yeah, that's pretty
It
intense.
jumped out, and it was only like $4.30 at Total Wine, so it's a bargain all day. So I did get, did you do any Beer Advocate review for your Abe Sapien beer?
No.
Oh my God. Okay.
I'm bringing nothing to the show.
That's right. I'm bringing something because I got some from Boule Boubière.
Oh God.
Boule Boubier. Something funky, not good, about the yeast character, as if they had to stress the yeast to get it to hit 15%. Struggling to pick out the blueberry, though the honey swells up midway and carries out relatively nicely. Nice and dry, not syrupy sweet. Wee bit mineral in the finish, similar to champagne. Still having a hard time believing this is 15%. Maybe the honey is masking any burn. I'm going to call bullshit on this being 15%. Just drank the whole bottle, and the only thing I ate in the last 21 hours was a corned beef special about 3 hours ago, and I'm far from falling over altogether. It's dopey, malty, and sorely lacking the boozy kick I expected was coming with it. So this guy's pissed.
Dopey?
This guy's pissed that the 15% beer didn't give him a buzz.
Yeah, Use the term wee bit.
Yeah. That used to be like not getting a buzz after 1 15% drink used to be like a Tuesday morning, but I'm changing things up. Like I said, I'm a weekend boozer now. Anyways, that's what we're drinking. It's part of what the show's about. I'm super pumped for this beer. I am. I know I'm not going to like it. It's going to taste like a Belgian, like a farmhouse. I know I'm not going to like it, but I'm into it.
Do it.
Do we have any TIG talk, or do you? Oh, you know what?
The whole episode's TIG talk.
Do you want to know what? So when this episode drops, that's how we use the lingo in this business. You want to know what's special about today, January 22nd?
Oh, January 22nd.
It's a rare occurrence that only happens maybe once or twice a year.
It is... What?
It's New Comic Book Day, and we both have comics out today.
The fuck?
In shops today, you could pick up Detective Comics number 1019, or 1019 as I like to call it. And you can also pick up Family Tree number 3. So
holy shit.
Get on that shit.
It's a national holiday. Mm-hmm. All the kids are home. Banks are closed. TIG show parade.
All right, let's just get into it.
Floats of your swollen head rolling down the street.
Oh, I had some thoughts, but I'll just put those in my back pocket for later for myself in the mirror. Slapping myself like, be better, be better. Okay, so previous episodes of the Tiggies, we talked about our own podcast, and then that's not bad enough. We both had to do a lot of work to do it, and we had to go back and try to remember shit.
Oh, it was terrible.
Terrible. So this time I thought, let's do the Tiggies for 2019 with categories that actually answer without just being pieces of shit. So new categories. We had a couple listeners chime in. So when they fit the categories, I'll pump up a few of our listeners who bother to put in their 2 cents worth. But let's just get into it, Scott. How does that sound to you?
Let's do it.
Okay. Why don't we go back and forth? I'll do the first category. You do the second.
Sure. So
the first award, the first Tiggy goes to best podcast I discovered, or best podcast we discovered individually this year. And it could be, again, best new to me. Could be something that's run for 500 episodes, or it could be something that's run for 152 episodes. But if it's new to you, then it's new.
Or something that's hasn't been updated in 2 years.
Could be whatever you want. Who knows?
I found a few of those.
Okay. So why don't you go first? What is the best podcast you discovered this year?
It's turning colors.
What is the beer?
This is changing colors. I don't know if you can see that.
No.
It is no longer the gold.
Ooh.
It's green now.
That's just the mold.
It's very bizarre.
Okay, so
I'm going to top this off.
So what's your best new to you podcast you discovered?
Best new to me podcasts. I had to go with mostly nitpicking. I'm big like movie sort of thing guy podcast. It
right.
Beaver. I'm just saying words now.
Banana.
Yeah. So Nando from Nando V Movies on YouTube and his buddy DJ. Every week they go ahead and they do a movie review podcast where they say they look exclusively at the details. And it's a podcast after my own heart. It's just nitpicky and just awful.
Okay, is this something that because a lot of my categories overlapped? Is this something you watch on YouTube or something you listen to as a podcast?
No, this is strictly a podcast, though he does have a YouTube channel called Nando V Movies. And right now he's in the middle of rewriting the entire first season of The Defenders.
Oh, okay. So he basically does kind of what we do occasionally, where he'll be like, I wasn't 100% happy with it, so let me do my version of it, or what I would have done in this case. Okay. All right. Is not
something you can only find on the internet.
Okay. Is Nando a professional sequential artist?
No, he is not.
Well, then
he's a professional YouTuber.
Okay. Probably more lucrative.
Oh, yeah,
for sure. Okay. My best new to me podcast. I had a hard time because the two options I pulled up, I honestly couldn't I couldn't 100% dial in if I started listening to them in 2019. Holy shit, that beer just turned a whole different color.
It's so weird.
Wow.
It's like a mood ring.
Wow.
I think maybe it's a temperature thing. It's like the Lex Luthor toy I used to have as a kid. You put him in the freezer and he turns colors.
Wow. Be sure to let us know. Keep us abreast if is there a taste change to it?
It's darkening up. No, not really.
Like I said, these podcasts the one I came up with, I can't 100% dial in that I started listening to it in 2019. But I'm pretty sure I did. I went back and looked at episodes to make sure. So I'm pretty sure I fell into this one like in January of 2019. But it's the Spit and Chicklets podcast. It's on the Barstool Network. Paul Bissonnette, Ryan Whitney, Rear Admiral. There are 3 hosts. And they talk hockey. They interview hockey players. But then it's also kind of like life. Like they do like their own little. They talk about like dates they went on or events they went to. The hockey players on it get really like candid. Like, I mean, some of them have gotten in trouble for some of the shit they've said on the podcast. Like Jeremy Roenick got suspended from NBC Sports because he talked about wanting to have a 3-way with his co-host and his wife when they were on vacation. Like his co-host is this like blonde lady. So he got in trouble through NBC Sports. But they get really candid sort of stories out of these hockey players. It really humanizes kind of these athletes or lets you get to know them. It's funny as shit. Obviously I'm a hockey guy. It's whenever it drops, I don't listen to every single episode because some of them go like 2.5 hours and they drop twice a week. So
Holy
sometimes
shit.
if it's a guest, I don't like they just had Marty Turco on and he was a goalie for the Dallas Stars and the Dallas Stars can eat my butthole. So I didn't listen to the Marty Turco episode, but I listened to most of the episodes. So Spit and Chicklets for me. Did you have any honorable mentions or runner-ups?
Yeah, I suppose. I didn't listen to a bunch of new stuff, I guess. But what I did find, I suppose, was entertaining enough that I listened some more. I found there's one called Where Should We Begin? I don't know if you know who Esther Perel is. She's like a world-renowned couples counselor. So she takes like stories from real clients, obviously changing shit, but it's interesting to listen to that stuff. I think personal dynamics and that sort of thing are interesting. Like, I don't get it. They fascinate me because I just don't understand them at all. I don't get how any of that stuff works. People. Well, I'm talking about people. I don't understand people.
No.
Yeah.
I speaking of not understanding humans real quick to go off on a tangent. I had a little rant on Twitter this morning and I decided I want my Twitter to be positive, but I did have not a little rant. I just complained that, again, just life, work, that kind of stuff. It's just tough right now. And a lot of people I don't know, someone retweeted it. So then a lot of people I don't know liked my post complaining about how I'm not getting any work and shit is really hard, tough right now. And then I click on it and they have less than 300 followers, but they want to make comics. And then I'm like, why did they like this post? Like, what is to like about it? That a guy who's been working for 12 years can't get work and they're trying to break in? I mean, I don't understand why you would like that post unless it's like a sympathy. It's like a sympathy.
There's no dislike button.
But I mean, yeah.
Yes.
And I appreciate all Twitter followers or whatever, but it doesn't help me any. Like if someone likes that post, it's not whatever. Little rant.
Okay. So why'd you put it up there?
I had to get it
To
out.
who?
I had to rant. But plus you're also like, it's also another way to let people know that I'm available for work while also ranting and not just putting up the same post every 4 hours saying I'm available for work. It's I don't know the term for it. It's like covert begging, I guess what you'd call, but not very covert. It's pretty overt. Anyways, my honorable mention for best new to me podcast I discovered is probably, again, I can't quite think. I got 2. The first one I can't remember if I started in 2019 or not. It's hard to dial it in. The Co-Main Event podcast is something I support on Patreon. They're an MMA podcast, but it's two friends who get together and they record in person. They live in the same town. They're both professional MMA writers, but then it's also, they talk about their kids and they talk about work and travel and stuff. Reminds me a lot of like you and I's dynamic, except they're way more famous. Yeah. And then
They're
The Dollop. The Dollop is something I discovered maybe halfway through the year that I really enjoy most of the episodes of The Dollop. It's two
what's
comedians, and one of them reads a story from history to the other one, but the other one has no idea what he's talking about to start with. He has no advanced knowledge of the topic. So one guy basically reads it, and so he's the straight man, and then the other guy cracks jokes throughout it. But it's all based on history. Like, they do a lot of research. He reads a whole story. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. And speaking of The Dollop, I want to say The Dollop is a listener, friend of the program, John Berger's favorite podcast. So,
I'll check it out then. On Berger's recommendation.
Yes. And then, speaking of Berger's, he wrote in and said that his favorite new podcast this year was Mondays with Mando. Mondays/mornings with Mando is how he put it. Because he said there's nothing better than enjoying a show every week and then learning why I'm an idiot for liking it.
You win the no prize Burgers.
That's right. And you're not an idiot for liking it, Burgers. We're jerks for not loving it. Okay, Scott, what is the next category in the 2019 Tiggies?
All right. Our next category is Best Continuing Podcast. So I guess, what podcast are you still listening to?
Yes. I guess this would be, what's your favorite podcast, right? I guess that's what that you didn't just discover. That would essentially be what this is.
Yeah, I suppose.
But something that I assume it means it's still it's still going on. You're listening to it on the reg.
That's what it would mean.
Right,
yeah.
on the reg. Okay, what's first for you?
The first thing that came to mind was Lore by, oh no, what's his name? Aaron Mankey. Sorry.
Sure.
Great podcast. I haven't watched the Amazon show. Apparently there's I think there's 2 seasons. So they take like the stories on the podcast and they just sort of animate it or something.
Yeah, my wife watched it.
But this is something that's specifically engineered to be, audio only.
Right.
And I dig it, and it works. That was the first thing that came to mind. But because it's still continuing, my 2 favorite podcasts of all time are no longer. So
okay.
I don't know if they're eligible for the category.
Oh, sure. We can do whatever we want. We own the Tiggies.
Fuck, fine. First is the Unbelievable podcast. I really miss it. That's where I got to know Zanger through. We were both fans of this particular podcast. And yeah, I think the host just got too busy with their careers to keep it up, but it was fantastic. I love it. I think Brian Frangie is my podcast idol. So if I could model myself and my role on the show after anybody, it would be Brian.
Okay.
And also, Yeah, It's That Bad is another movie review podcast. 3 just dudes from New Jersey who just get together and talk about a listener recommended movie. They weren't new movies. They never did new movies. They'd always go back and do fucking, like, they do Batman and Robin,
right,
or some stupid Nicolas Cage movie, and it was fantastic. It was like hanging out with buddies. So for 50 minutes a week, I got to pretend like I had friends.
Yeah, that's how I view podcasts and stuff, is that kind of thing. Like, it's kind of like what me and my friends would talk about, but these people are just better at their job for the most part, or they're like funny. Okay. So yeah, I kind of like How Did This Get Made, but maybe like a lower key, funner, or more relatable people.
Yeah, I like How Did This Get Made. I wish it had more structure. I wish I think like Paul, right, is the main. He's like the moderator almost. I wish he kept things more
on topic.
I wish he kept them tighter. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my only complaint about the show.
Yeah, Paul Scheer is the Ryan Cody of this podcast, of his podcast.
Yes,
right.
That's apt.
You're the Jason Mantzoukas, not because
I was gonna say,
not because you couldn't be the Paul Scheer, but because you just don't care enough to be the Paul Scheer.
Oh, and also Jason's funnier,
right, and better looking. Speaking of people to rag on, going back to ragging on Mitch, I don't know if that's in this episode or not, but he personally knows them, so fuck him.
We need a June.
Yes. Ooh, we need a June. Okay, for me, best continuing podcast. I had a little trouble with this because I have podcasts I listen to every week, but then I could start to see flaws in all of them. Like reasons that sometimes I'm like, oh man,
It's like
whatever.
a relationship.
So I went, it's like this relationship. So it's like, so I decided on the
I'm
podcast.
sorry I didn't press record on fucking Audacity.
152 episodes. I went with the podcast that got me in. I went with the marijuana, the gateway drug. I went with WTF.
Yeah.
WTF with Mark Maron. But with the caveat that I don't listen to every episode. Only if it's a guest I'm interested in do I listen. But
Yes.
when I do listen, I think he's fascinating at what he does and the openness he gets out of these people. And when I mean these people, I mean like humans. Just really good stuff. So that's always going to be my number one pod. Whenever there's a new episode, I immediately check to see who the guest is. And if it's a guest I'm interested in hearing or I've heard about, I'll definitely give it a listen. Sure. And then my runner-up would be The Fighter and the Kid with Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen. Former MMA fighter Brendan Schaub, comedian Brian Callen. I guess they're both comedians now. Like Brendan Schaub stopped being a cage fighter and started being a comedian. But they're just funny.
Like
they're just funny because they go to my core of like jocular adolescence. Like it's just like bro shit, making fun of people, bagging on their friends, talking shit to each other. It's just kind of like reminds me of like junior high, but in the best way, like high school, junior high in the best way. Just stupid shit, fun. It's cool. It's whatever. It's fun. I like it. That's one that I listen to. I don't ever miss an episode of The Fighter and the Kid. Usually. Sometimes they have a guest on that I know is problematic, so I'll skip it. Category 3. The third 2019 TIG goes to, by the way, beer, and it's going to be, wait till the end of the episode, but I'm pleasantly surprised. I didn't do the sniff.
Ooh.
See, on the sniff, it smells...
Oh, yeah. You had to
On the
stick your
sniff,
schnoz in there.
It smells like a fruity Belgian, which normally I'd be against, but it's not overly fruity.
This is the thumbnail.
Okay. Best YouTube show. I included this category mostly because you are a YouTube guy, but I recently got into watching a couple shows. I got into watching a couple shows on YouTube. So I thought this would be a fun category. I tried to cater to you because I'm trying to make you happy. I know it's impossible, but I'm doing my fucking best. I'm doing my damnedest to make you happy with our relationship.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. No, this is a losing bet.
Best YouTube show, Scott. What do you got?
My favorite YouTube show, Forever and Always. Okay, so you say YouTube show. That makes me think it's like it's just that. It's a YouTube show because there are YouTube channels that do just a bunch of
I chose something that's
shit.
something you can watch for like an hour or more. Episodes come out. Yeah.
Okay. Best of the worst. Forever and Always from Red Letter Media. Mike Stoklasa, Jay Bauman, and Rich Evans. It's heaven on a screen. Rich Evans has the laugh of an angel.
So what is the show? What do they do?
Okay, if you're not familiar with Red Letter Media, you may be familiar with the Plinkett reviews of the Star Wars prequels. No. Have you heard of these? No, you got to go Google this shit. They are three. I guess they're professional, but I mean they're not like Hollywood professional filmmakers from Milwaukee. So best of the worst is usually they have the wheel of the worst, which is the giant spinning wheel, or the wheel of misfortune, and they take all of these VHS and DVDs that viewers send them, so they get just tons of random shit. And they're not always movies that go on these boards. They're like informational videos. They did something called Silver Foxes, which is an exercise tape from the parents of celebrities. So they had like Jacqueline Stallone and Al Pacino's dad and like Robin Williams' mom standing around in his studio like stretching and lunging. And they sit down and they watch it for everybody, and it's fascinating and hilarious. I love it. One of our own, Freddie Williams, has been a guest.
Comic book artist Freddie Williams
twice. Yeah. He did the artwork for their I don't know if it was their first film, but one of their films called Feeding Frenzy.
Oh.
So they invite him back on the show from time to time. I am totally envious.
Also, Freddie Williams and his wife, two of the nicest people you'll ever meet. I met them at a show one time, and they were just genuinely super nice people.
Yeah. He seems like a good dude.
Okay. For me, best YouTube show. Kind of a cheat, kind of a hybrid here, but I chose a podcast that most of the podcasts I like live stream to YouTube channels. So I watch this particular podcast on YouTube, and it's Your Mom's House with Tom Segura and Christina Pajinski, his wife. So I'll admit, like, I'm on a weird Tom Segura kick. Like, it's almost unhealthy. Like, I love his stand-up, but two of his podcasts, this one, Your Mom's House, and Two Bears, One Cave that he does with Bert Kreischer, I just love. I watch them both on YouTube because it's just so funny to, like, watch them interact with each other and the giggles and the whatever. This one, Your Mom's House, like I said, he co-hosts with his wife, who's also a stand-up, Christina P. She's just cute as hell. She's, like, adorable as hell. So they have that fun dynamic because they're married, but they're both funny and they can riff off each other. So usually the first, like, 40 minutes of the pod is them sort of just talking to themselves and looking at, like, they look at videos on the internet and make fun of the people on there. And they just like TikTok and stuff, they'll make fun of the fucking ass clowns that are on there. And then the second half is they have an interview. So they have, like, a full studio, like, out of the home studio that they record at. It's a real production. They have, like, 3 or 4 producers. It's a thing. So yeah, I watch the Your Mom's House network on YouTube. So I watch Two Bears, One Cave, Your Mom's House with Tom Segura, Christina P. They are adorable. Like, I want to be adopted by them, and because I'm older than Tom, so I want to kind of just be like best friends with them. That's kind of how I feel about that.
That's what all of this is. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a runner-up or an honorable mention?
I think I mentioned previously in my podcast selection for mostly nitpicking Nando V Movies, the YouTube channel. I like film video essay channels a lot. So he does a lot of that stuff. I really like... I mentioned him on the show before. I don't know his real name. The channel's called Implicitly Pretentious, I think. But he does a lot of video essays on MCU stuff. He's big into, like, the psychology of self-identity and that sort of stuff. And so he applies a lot of that stuff to those movies. It's really interesting. They're very deep.
You like it deep.
They're... surprisingly complex films.
Interesting. My runner-up is something else that is a podcast, but in my opinion, you have to watch it on YouTube to get the full effect, and it's the Cartoonist Kayfabe podcast / YouTube channel, where they basically, I don't watch all of them because they have multiple topics, sometimes multiple show topics, but the ones where they go through Wizard Magazine page by page and they talk about. So I really like that one because then I'm immediately brought back into, like, 14, 15-year-old me, like, how excited I was when I saw the first ad for, like, Ninjak or some shit, you know? And they'll talk about that, and they'll talk about all this other stuff. Right. And it's just fun to go back and kind of realize, like, because back then when I grew up, I was so alienated from everything. I had no friends that were into comics. So when I watched this, I'm like, oh, there were other people. Like, this is what it would have been like to hang out and talk comics with somebody when I was, like, 15. It's great.
I wonder what I would be like if I had that experience. What I would be like now if I'd grown up with this sort of stuff. With anybody right. that had the same interest.
Because it's almost like it's you almost have PTSD. I don't want to equate our struggles.
I wonder if I'd have gotten it out of my system.
And I wouldn't want to equate what we have with what a member of the LGBTQ community has, but I did have to look at this stuff alone in my room and not tell anybody about it, and really get excited about it, but, like, by myself, you know, like I had to order, like, Brigade #1 and just wait for months to finally get Brigade #1 in the mail, you know, like that kind of shit. Like, I had no one to talk about it. And then when you open it up and it's like, I mentioned this again, shout out to Marat, who's a great guy, but I thought Brigade #1 was going to be drawn by Rob Liefeld. So then when I opened it and it wasn't, I didn't have it. I was turned to tell somebody, like, what the fuck? There's no one there. It's just my bedroom wall. You know, it's like my poster of like Anna Nicole Smith in a Guess ad. That's who I got to talk to about like,
Right.
yeah.
What the fuck is this box of Kleenex?
Like when I first read Avengers Forever, I turned to my Cindy Crawford poster. I'm like, who the fuck is Carlos Pacheco? I'm into this shit. But yeah, another human around would have been nice. So that's kind of what cartoonist kayfabe is kind of like. All right, homeboy. I think it's your turn to read the category. I can't remember at this point.
All right, so this is our fourth category. This is best TV show I watched, either old or new or revisited or whatever. What do you got, Home Skillet?
Okay. For me, one thing is I had a hard time again remembering. I don't think I watched a lot of TV this year, so I did go on like lists, like best TV shows of 2019 to see if something would jog my memory. And nothing really did. I didn't watch a lot of the shows that made the best of lists. But one thing I did watch that when I finished it, I was bummed to find out that it was canceled and there wouldn't be a third season. And that was Patriot on Amazon Prime.
Oh.
Patriot on Amazon Prime. 2 seasons. It's about
Patriot.
a covert government agent who's like super depressed and wants out of his life, but he also like sings folk music. Like that's the way he copes. Is he sings like folk music on the side. It's got John Locke from Lost. It's got Red Foreman from That 70s Show. They kind of play the two elder characters it's super fun. It's touching. It's really relatable if you have like depression issues and sort of like anxiety issues. Because this guy, I think that one of the reasons he's so endearing is that, I mean, he knows how to like kill a man with his bare hands and he's in shape and he's super handsome and he has a great voice, but he's also super depressed and super lonely and doesn't know what to do, and like to see those foibles in someone who looks like Thor is nice.
Yeah, okay. Those sort of, you take that as sort of action guy archetype and then you cross it with some real world vulnerability.
Yeah, like there's a scene, spoiler alert if you want to shut this off for the next 45 seconds. There's a scene in the second season where he has to get into a building and they're like, how do you get into this building? Like, and he's like, well, I'm going to drop 3 stories to this patio and then get in that way. And the person's like, what do you mean you're going to do that? And he's like, I know how to do that. And then like, they're like, how do you do it? And he's like, well, you land on your shoulder, you dislocate your shoulder, and then you got to like knock it back into place. And he's like, it's just all about how you land. And they're like, doesn't that hurt? And he just like puts his head in his hands his head in his hands. And he's like, it hurts so much. Like, this is going to suck. Like, this is going to suck so bad. And then when he's on the ledge and he's about to do it, the look on his face is just like, it's not like the heroic look. It's like, oh God, like this is going to suck. And then he does it. And when he hits the ground, he blacks out for like 30 seconds. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, he's doing what has to be done, but it blows. It blows.
I see. I haven't seen Barry, but that's sort of like the hitman that wants to be an actor, or Grosse Point Blank, I guess.
The guy who's not that different from me.
Basket.
Had I made 1 or 2 different turns in life.
Something I have watched was is it on Netflix? The Movies That Made Us. So they do the behind the scenes stuff. They did Home Alone, Dirty Dancing, but one of them was Die Hard.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of started with Die Hard. Everybody in the industry laughed when they cast Bruce Willis. They did a test screening and audiences thought it was a fucking joke. Yeah, the everyman is the action hero.
What about you? What was the best other than Justified? What was the best TV show you watched this year?
I conversely have watched a lot of TV shows, like streaming shows, I guess, in the last year. I really, really was totally blown away by Russian Doll. I think that's also Netflix. Yeah, Natasha Lyonne. It's sort of like Groundhog Day, but 1,000 times better. So check that out if you like good stuff. She's always great in whatever. She's I imagine she's just playing her. So she's just like this really interesting, charismatic person. It's sort of like Nicolas Cage, right? Nicolas Cage doesn't act. He's just Nicolas Cage, but you can always watch him.
Academy Award nominee.
Or The Rock.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. You got any honorable mentions for TV shows?
I've got. You know what? I don't. I really liked Fleabag, but I'm wondering if that's because.
That's mine.
Fleabag is great, but also I'm obsessed with Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
I don't know who that is.
The star of Fleabag, the creator and writer of Fleabag.
Okay.
I just find her absolutely adorable and sexy. And it's a weird, like, I get it. She's not traditionally that thing, but to me, she's that thing. And I just thought Fleabag was great. I thought it was hilarious.
That was great.
Good. Yeah.
It got me. It was very emotional.
Yeah. And then John Burgers chimed in again and said, Mr. Robot, the series finale of the series finale, the last season of Mr. Robot, which is, I watched the first season of Mr. Robot and really dug it, and then I just fell off. I didn't watch the rest of it because I think we got rid of cable or something. But
no, I don't know anything about Mr. Robot.
Oh, it's good. The first season's really good. And going into next, I just watched the trailer to jump ahead to next year's Tiggies. I'm super excited about the new season of Fargo that's coming out this year with Chris Rock as the lead. It's going to be great.
Oh, wow.
Fargo is a great television show for people who haven't watched it. It's really fantastic. All right.
Yeah, I am ignorant on Fargo as well.
Oh, the second season of Fargo especially might be one of the best shows made in the last decade, and it has our girl MEW in it, opposite Ewan McGregor. Lots of good stuff going on in Fargo season 2. Maybe that's season 3. Whatever.
I can dig
just
it.
Watch Fargo. All right. The next category is Best Artist I Discovered. I thought about sending you a message and saying it could be any kind of artist, but then I was like, I don't want to confuse them. So Best Artist I Discovered, I went with a comic book artist. I guess we didn't clarify it, but I went with a comic guy. Again,
yes, did I.
Again, difficult because I can't 100% say I just discovered this guy's work this year, but I kind of fell in love with his work this year. So I went with R.B. Silva, who's an artist from Marvel Comics. He did Powers of X. He did half of the relaunch of the X titles. Brazilian artist. A bonus is he also practices jiu-jitsu according to his Instagram account. It's purple belt. Kind of like one of the Stuart Eminem offshoot guys who's slowly developing his own style while incorporating that really great Stuart Eminem stuff. Similar to Pepe Larraz, who I love, but I knew about Pepe Larraz's stuff 2 years ago because he did a great miniseries with Ed Brisson.
4, he was cool.
So, yeah, R.B. Silva is my guy. Everyone should check out Powers of X and House of X. If you just, even for the great art. Story's great too, but the art is fan-fucking-tastic. Scott, I'm going to throw the video and the thing over to you. The thing, whatever you call it. Baton.
Yeah, sure. As I have mentioned before, I think I mentioned it a couple episodes ago, I'm on a big Clayton Henry kick right now. I think I had him confused initially with Clayton Crane. So when I saw his stuff, I was like, wow, this is a lot different than I remember it being. But yeah, different dude. Much better dude. I dig it. And he actually is the one that got me thinking about working on the iPad, because that's what your brain goes to. Because when you're just a stupid asshole artist, you think, oh, what's that? What kind of pen is that guy using? If I get
draw
that
like
kind of
this.
pen, obviously I'm going to be as good as him. But yeah, he's great. He needs to be on a regular on a big book because he deserves a bunch of money.
He is good. I like his work as well. Did you have any runner-ups, or did both of us struggle with this?
No, that was the only one I had because I don't read comics. I don't know what's happening, nor am I on the Twitter.
Correct. So, why don't you lead us into the next category?
Talent deserving of wider recognition. This can be in comics or acting, music, fine art, stage performers.
Age performers. Is that what you said? Age?
Age, yes. Age
What does that mean?
That means like somebody that's 35 playing a 19-year-old. Ian Ziering.
Right.
No,
Yeah, Ian Ziering. Yeah, it's what Tiffany Amber Thiessen. She has a cookbook out. I saw her cookbook at Barnes & Noble the other day. I didn't buy it because...
Oh, cookbook.
I don't know what TAT. I don't know what kind of diet she's on. I don't know if I need to be aware. All right. I'll go first on this time. I guess I went first last time. You go first this time. Talent deserving of wider recognition.
Oh, sure. This was a tough one.
Yes.
I don't consume a lot of stuff, so I guess I don't know. Like the lady from Flea that you know the name of, I guess would be
but I don't.
candidate for this.
But you're talking about
Fleabag.
wider recognition. I think she just wrote the next James Bond movie. She's like the
Oh,
biggest
really?
name now going. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, good. I'm glad about that. This was a hard category. I don't know. I'm trying to pick something that I love that other people don't love, and oh man, I really struggled to come up with anything. What I really am happy to see is Adam Driver doing more things other than Star Wars, because I'm a big Adam Driver fan. So that's what I went with. I can't bring myself to watch Marriage Story because it's...
I was just about to say the exact same thing. Trigger
I can't...
warning. Yep.
Emotionally, I can't do it. So, but I hear great things. My internet show, Best of the Worst, was talking about the new Star Wars movie or something, and it got into a tangent about Marriage Story because of Adam Driver, and how both Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, two of these actors from these giant franchises, go and do this little thing, and they're not doing the action scenes, and there's no special effects. They're just smearing the screen with their acting chops
all over the place.
And I think that's great.
Yeah, they both got nominated for Academy Awards for Marriage
That's
Story.
fantastic.
Yep.
I love Adam Driver. Yep. I went into Lucky Logan because I wanted to see Daniel Craig talk with that accent for 2 hours. But I stayed for Adam
he was
Driver.
great in that movie. Just fantastic. We had a whole episode on that movie, oddly enough. Okay, so I did have this was also another hard category, pun intended. I went with attractive Costa Rican Dan Mora, comic book artist Dan Mora, who I think did a cover for an issue that you drew, either a Super Sons fill-in you did or something I bought last year that you drew had a Dan Mora cover. So Dan Mora, not the problem, but the reason I think he needs a wider recognition is he works 90% of his work is through Boom Studios, which they better be throwing the goddamn checkbook at him. He does a once a year book with Grant Morrison called Claus. He's just really good, but he's on books that I would never in a million years read. Like he did a Power Rangers book. He made Power Rangers look cool, but there's no way in fucking hell I'm reading a Power Rangers comic. So I would love to see Dan on like a Daredevil, Superman, unless you're on it, like an X-Men book. Just really good mix between cartooning and fundamentals. Just really solid artist, nice. Really solid guy, I assume. I don't know. I'm sure he's a solid guy. And then I do have some honorable mentions that are more than honorable mentions. They're close to my heart. A couple colorists I would like to see on big books, or at least get the recognition I think they deserve. Rico Renzi and Nick Filardi. They color books differently than what you see it normally at the big two. It's interesting. It's good. I think they have a creative hand in what they're doing rather than just sort of like doing the house style, that kind of stuff. So shout out to those homeboys. And then I was going to throw Phil Hester on here, but that's he's like my boss. But he's doing great work. I mean, he's doing the work of his career, I think. It's a shame he's not on like a crime book or a Batman book or something like that. And then one other note I put down, not quite as a joke, but kind of as a joke, Gina Carano, I think, blew up in Mandalorian and should continue to blow up in all the best ways. And then Corey from Cab Comics chimed in, and he said there's an artist and it's a one named artist like Madonna. This artist is named Danny. I assume it's a female. Danny.
Okay.
She draws Coffin Bound, or they. I'm sorry, I don't know the gender. They draw Coffin Bound at Image Comics. Looks really cool. And then he also mentioned Daniel Warren Johnson, who most artists really like. I don't know how underrated he is. He's doing like a Wonder Woman vanity project right now. So I don't know if he fits the category, but I wanted to. Thanks for chiming in, Corey.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I think Daniel Warren Johnson is one of those like artist kind of guys that I'm sure he's got like readership. I'm sure likes his stuff, but I don't know. I feel if you put his stuff in front of a general audience in one room, and then you took his stuff and put it in front of other comic pros in another room, you'd have a greater percentage of people in the comic pros room gravitating to it.
Agreed, 100%.
Ogling it.
Okay, the penultimate category. That's a word I know. Best new drink. This is actually, I think, the one category you threw in here, which for me was easy because I have the Untapped app. I can just research.
Oh man!
So best new drink, Scott. What do you got? Best new drink
Right.
of 2019.
The only thing that stands out for me from the last year, I think, was the beer that I happened to like the most, which was that Abita Purple Haze. So I guess that's going to be my selection. I think that was my highest rated beer of the year, which led me to
What did you
actually
think about it
purchase
on
again,
second
something I
pull?
don't typically do.
I
I haven't had it yet.
for like a special
I'm
occasion.
kind of holding on to it.
Right. Okay. Good.
Right, like the next episode.
Yeah, maybe we should do that. Maybe that would be one kind of month of themed shows where we go back to our highest rated beers and see has our palates changed? Have our palates changed? Or better yet, get you another big 10-barrel brewing Cucumber Crush and see has your palate adjusted to that quality beverage.
Yeah, let's do that.
My best new drink, based off my Untapped account, which is actually the show's Untapped account, but you don't contribute to it, but it's the Illustrious Gentleman on Untapped. This is something I completely forgot about, but it's called Grandma's Gravy Imperial Stout from Rickety Cricket Brewing, 11.3%. And I had this with you the night we went to Rickety Cricket in Flagstaff before Batman Day at Cab Comics. So apparently I loved it. Honestly, I mean, it was in March. Who can remember these things? So I'd like to get to one of their breweries because the one up here closed. So I'd like to get to one of their breweries in Prescott or Kingman to try it out again to see how well it holds up. So that's that. And then my runner-up, if I drink more hard alcohol, if I was more that guy, as a 44-year-old man should be, then it would be the Evan Williams Bottled and Bond 100 proof bourbon, which was just delicious. So a shout out to those two things. I like it's dark and strong. You know, I like it. Dark and strong does it for me, I think. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay.
Idris Elba.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I gotta change pants after this episode. Okay, Scott, lead us into the final category.
All right. Our last, wrapping up the evening. So the award for Best Professional Achievement goes to...
Yeah. So I know that we've gone long. Everyone wants us off. They want us off the stage. They want to go to the after parties. All that. But I thought, why not one category to...
No, the music's coming on.
I'll be quick. Why not celebrate ourselves? Which is why I threw this one in there. So, Scott, for you, your best personal professional achievement.
Making a deadline.
Not only that, you told me earlier this week that, I'm talking 2020 now. I'm in the future. I apologize. But you told me you actually not only made a deadline last week or this week, but you made it by a day early.
That was a day early.
Jesus Christ. What is the editorial at DC going to do? Other than give you a goddamn monthly Superman book is what they should do.
Yeah. Dogs and cats living together.
Up is down, left is right. Laundry's doing itself. Dishes are magically clean. What is happening here?
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about this. I don't think we talked about it on air. I think you and I just chatted about it. But you've learned to be the guy that can just hit deadlines all of a sudden, like randomly in 2019.
Yeah, I got it figured out now.
Right.
Watch out,
Let's
comics.
see those last 3 issues of Copperhead then. All right, for me, my answer's obvious. I mean, it's so obvious, it's painfully obvious, and it's working on Family Tree for Image. I'm on an Image book. Obviously, I'm not drawing the Image book, but I'm on an Image book. It's a decently sized book with huge creators attached to it. So a pretty good way to start off my coloring comic career, which might only be this book. This might be the entire run of my comic coloring career, but who knows? But yeah, it's last night, honestly, because when you're working on a book, you read the script, then you look at the script when you're working on it. I mean, as an artist, you have to, as a line artist, you have to read the script every page you're drawing. But as a colorist, you don't have to read every page again and again, whatever. It's not the same. So last night, as I was going to bed, I tucked myself into my covers, got nice and cozy, had my tea, had my melatonin. Story. I reread for the first time. I read issues 2 and 3 of Family Tree just as like reading a comic, because I worked on them a while ago. Blah blah blah. It's a good book, and I'm ecstatic to be associated with this book.
Awesome.
I really finished it, and I'm like, man, that is good. That's a good read. Shout out to Jeff Lemire. I should probably ask him how to pronounce his name. Shout out to Phil Hester, Eric Gapster, the whole creative team, Steve Wands, Will Dennis, doing some great work. And it's so good, I can't bring it down. That's how good the book is that it stays afloat even with me as the anchor.
It's Cody proof.
Do you have any do you have any runner-ups to this, or you're just at
In all seriousness, I did a couple issues of Detective last year. They didn't make it print till this year, but I did draw them last year. That's pretty cool. It is the second longest running book in the industry, so it's neat to have something.
Well, what's the first then? Superman? Have you done action before?
I haven't. Okay. I've done Superman, but I haven't done action.
All right, Tomasi, get him on an issue of Superman or Action Comics. Sorry, so we can complete his duo. Yeah, no, I'm proud of you. Detective Comics is a big deal. Good job. You're my dude. Let's just assume when this comes out, let's assume I already picked up episode or issue Detective Comics 10,019, and I loved it. So 4 stars to my bro. And then a final shout out to John Burgers, who I wasn't going to include this because it's not comic or movie or whatever based, but he did say he hit 25 years at his job at the post office this year. So huge shout out to John Burgers, who's going to have what's called a pension and a retirement. So whatever those are, I'm good for you.
I'm throwing my hat in the ring, Burgers. Put in a good word.
Yep. By the time you're like 78, you can also have that prestigious retirement fund. Yeah, so that's good show, man. Good show. Those were the awards. Who knows? Maybe next year we have better categories or different categories. But I thought these were categories we could both answer, so it wasn't too much work. Although we give our heart and soul to this podcast. That's right.
No, it's fine.
All right, so now to the best part. Scott, how was your Abe Sapien beer from Gigantic Brewing?
Well, I have to bump it up a star just because you gave it to me.
It also changed fucking colors. When was the last time you had a beer that changed colors?
Yeah, it's very... Yeah, there's some weird science going on here. I wish it was the kind of weird science that made a sexy lady appear in my room.
Give me 2 hours. I'll be down there.
But, it's good. I mean, it's a 6.6, so it's not... I don't even know that if that's average. Like, in my brain, like... I would imagine the majority of beer sales are for garbage, like Bud Light and Coors and Miller and garbage, and that's a 5?
Less than
5.2.
Anything that has light in front of it is like 4.3 to 4.8.
So I would call it above average. I mean, it's no 15%, but it's fine. I mean, it comes in a sexy ass bottle with some nice Mignola artwork. It's 16.9 ounces. It's doing this crazy shit. That's super cool. That's fun. The nose is really growing on me. Man, this is a tasty beer. I don't know if I could go as far as a 4.5, but I have no problem going to 4.25. So, but I would go 4.26, which would round it up to a 4.5. Yeah, sure. This is the best of episode. You know,
All right.
Let's be nice. Do it.
Wow.
I'm going to say 4.5. This is good stuff.
Okay. So I had the 15% Flying Fish Brewing Company's Exit 3 Blueberry Braggot Honey Ale brewed with blueberries. All right, first of all, people, if you're going to make a shitty Belgian or farmhouse ale or Saison, mix it with honey and put some meat up in that bitch to dial down the sourness of it and the funk of it, because this shit is fucking heaven right now. It's the smell I can tolerate, the taste, might be the 15% talking. Who knows? But I'm digging it because I hate farmhouse ales. I hate Belgians, and this is pretty fucking tasty. There's no, even on a big pull, there's no alcohol burn to it. I don't even know how to describe it. I like it. I want to investigate. Yeah, I want to investigate. I want to invest myself into this new thing of braggots, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4%, I think, because it does have a little bit of Belgium flavor to it, and I can't give anything like that higher than a 4, but it's pretty damn good. Again, the bottle at Total Wine was like $4.50 all day long. Get this beer, try it out, you'll like it. Yeah, that's what I said when I grabbed it. I was like, fuck, yes, this is what I want. And I also noticed when I researched it, a lot of braggots aren't this strong. Most are in the 6 to 11% range. So to have one that's 15%, a little special, kind of like this episode of the Tiggies, 2019 Tiggies. Okay, Scott. So everyone, I hope they've enjoyed themselves. I hope they picked up Detective Comics 1019 and Family Tree number 3. Yeah.
Hope you didn't hate them.
No, of course they don't hate them. Whatever. I feel like just now it's almost like I'm on speed. I'm really humming right now, and it could be the 24 ounces of where's Pabst from? Milwaukee? Whatever, from Pabst. Could be 24 ounces of Milwaukee's finest and 12 ounces of 15% Braggot. And I like Braggot. Then it's like I'm bragging. That guy's bragging. He's
braggading.
That's right. I'm braggading right now. But it could be the combination of the two. But I'm feeling a lot better about the day.
Good.
Now, I didn't get any emails that were positive. I might have got a negative email while we recorded, but let's not focus on the negative. Let's focus on the positive. The positive is last week's show was a travesty. This week's show is good, and next week's show is going to be better. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Scott, my friend, do what you do.
Yeah, all right. Goodbye, Scott. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Scott. TIGShow.com.